Hey everybody, thank you for listening to Filling in the Gaps. Be sure to check us out on our social media pages at Filling in the Gaps. From there you can get updates on show releases and anything special we may be doing. Sit back and enjoy the show. Should be a lot of fun.
All right, everybody, welcome out to episode 3 of Filling in the Gaps. So far, hey, let us just say, before we even get this episode started, man, we are so appreciative of all the feedback you guys have been giving. I know Seriously. Cam has said this in the intro, but sometimes I just want to get a chance to say it too. Like, we love you guys have been listening so far and with us on Reddit and giving us ideas. It's been a lot of fun creating all the monsters and stuff. Maybe you're new, though. Hopefully you're new. What Filling in the Gaps is Filling in the Gaps is a weekly podcast where myself and Cam take a random theme and a random scenario. We have a list of 20 themes and 20 scenarios ranging from steampunk world, a high-tech city, being literally inside of a god, to some scenarios that are an alien invasion, a zombie outbreak, maybe even a trial of the gods or getting sucked into a computer or a different reality. We take a random thing from both of those lists by rolling what else than a d20, and we create a story for you to use. Now, out of that story might come maps or characters or monsters, but over the next hour, we're just going to be brainstorming about things we've liked, things we've loved, and maybe even coming up with something that you can use to fill in the gaps during your next session.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing is breaking it down one by one of how we're going to build out the skeleton, how we're going to fill that world with life and interaction for your players. We're going to try to create as much fun stuff for you to do and try to create ideas. Hopefully some of our ideas you use. Hopefully some of the ideas that we give you make you want to come up with your other ideas, and make up your own stuff and sort of just spark that fire that we've had sparked in ourselves for so long.
Exactly.
Isn't that right? Yeah.
We just need to keep it burning for a few more years.
Consider us the kindling for your fire.
Oh gosh, that sounds barbaric.
It is. I have another barbaric question.
Okay.
What this week inspired you from a storytelling perspective? Did you get a chance to learn anything story-wise or anything about role-playing games or anything like that?
Well, you know what? I'm going to change up a little bit what I said to you before we were talking about something that inspired me this week. I got 2 things. That's right. I'm going wild card.
Oh my God.
So first off, I saw Ready Player One. Just a few last week. I saw Ready Player One. I read the book.
Good movie.
Good movie. Great book. I loved both. I'm not gonna try to rank them together or against each other because as I'm watching the movie, and I won't spoil anything. Don't worry. As I'm watching the movie, there were some things in the movie that were different than the book, and there were some things in the book I was really looking forward to. But what I kind of realized watching it is the scenes I had missed in the book worked in a book setting because the pace was slower. Reading a book is a more intimate thing. In a movie, the scenes I wanted to see wouldn't have worked. And it made me just think about in general how I can't approach, whether it's writing or doing a tabletop game versus a board game versus a video game. I can't approach what I'm doing and expect every medium to respond to the same stimulation. And it kind of just made me look at some encounters I've tried to run in the past and realize, I was expecting this very serious encounter to have the same functionality of like this crazy combat encounter, and that's not how it works. So that was my thing. That was my thing.
Wow, that's huge. I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. My mind goes to how can I make this a movie scene inside of my players' minds every single time I try to do something. And maybe that's the wrong way because there's definitely been times where the pacing is so far off from what I want it to be that I just sit there and go, wow, we've been in this encounter for about 2 hours now, so this is fun.
Yeah.
We need to move along here. Okay, but you said you had 2 things. Is that the 2 things?
Right. And the second one, this one's short. This is I think a direct DM/player tip, so please steal this one because I know I did. I saw some advice this week that when you sit down to your game night, when all the players are getting ready, when the DM is still getting his pieces together, You start every session off by asking your players essentially a dating, getting to know you question about their characters. So some examples to get you started would be, what's your character's favorite article of clothing? What's your character's favorite food? What was the last concert your character saw? Or if they had more downtime, how would they spend it? And then have all of your players think about that for a good minute or two, and then go around the table and share their responses. Now, you could say this isn't character knowledge. You guys don't know this about my player, but it helps all of the players have a better understanding of who your character is, and it adds that life to them. They're not just their weapon and their spells and a few like cliche things about them that everybody knows. It kind of gives them more like ability to add to their backstory as they're playing, which I think is really important.
Every time we get an opportunity to have our players feel more in depth with the story that they're telling, we need to take that opportunity.
Oh yes.
So each time we come to the table, we have to understand that we did this as you said, Rich, earlier, a symbiotic relationship. Obviously, we want to enjoy what we're doing, but we cannot get caught up in the story we're telling so much to the point where we are more focused on telling the story to our players as opposed to letting them experience the story through the eyes of their characters. So that's the big thing.
Yeah.
As for me, I got inspired by sort of a combination of three things. I'm a big fan of long-form storytelling, and that sort of can be brought into our world of role-playing games and storytelling like this.
Oh, hopefully.
But three pop culture things that I've sort of been consuming as of late has been God of War, which has now spanned across 4 games.
Yep.
The last of which is phenomenal. I will not spoil anything. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I just recently saw Infinity War, and that's a fantastic culmination of many, many years of storytelling. And then the WWE, or wrestling, I know that might be a weird curveball, but to me, I feel like the way that they... Yeah, I know. Let me tell you something, brother.
How to make yourself seem more interesting at every party. What are you into, Cameron? Oh, long-form storytelling. Oh, really? Like what is that? Well, a great example would be the WWE. That's so perfect.
Guys, where are you going? The ladies love him, everybody.
Yep.
It's Cameron. But to me, like, they do a really good job with their characters.
Yeah.
In that, yes, when it's bad, it's awful. I'm not trying to say that, but when it's good, there is this unusual mixture of real life and fiction that start to become one, and it becomes this magical thing that just shows up on the screen. And then again, it's culmination, right? It's the ability to get to the end and then be able to look back and do your callbacks and stuff like that. With our players, being able to do that with our players is awesome. Yeah. And having that character that saved them that one time or they thought was dead show back up. You can't tell me any of those 3 mediums that I've talked about, video games, movies, and I guess physical entertainment, live entertainment, doesn't do that. So it's a lot of fun, and you can definitely be inspired by things that you wouldn't expect. So always take that into consideration.
Well, yeah, and piggybacking off what you said and the whole symbiotic relationship between a dungeon master and his players, that's what you said right there. Like, if you want your players to lean in when you're talking, if you want them to really care about the story, you don't have to be as, you don't have to be as great a voice actor as Matt Mercer. You don't have to have all these lights and sound things. Really what you need to do is just start really taking notes. Who are the characters my players love most and why? What did my players love about this session? And use that in your storytelling. If you have an NPC you really like, use the things you've seen that your players like and make that happen. And you'll find that you'll have a lot more fun telling the story you're telling because your characters love that you're telling a story that they feel like they're a part of, that the characters they've invested into come back.
Right.
But
now, before we roll, though,
yes.
Don't play with your players. And what I mean by that is that NPC, they might think they're super cool. That doesn't mean he's sticking around for the entire arc.
That's true.
Forever.
That's true.
You know, and because then is it that you just love him and you want to play in your story so much, or it takes away your focus?
True.
I know that a lot of us do that, but sprinkle it, because absence makes the heart grow fonder, as opposed to Senior Jeff. That's the character name. I'm giving him the name.
Yep.
That's if we made up an NPC, that's his name.
Yep.
Senior Jeff.
Yep.
I've just heard that. I've heard that tidbit before, and I really like that idea.
Me too.
Also, just juggling an NPC for a long period of time, and then combat encounters, and then talking to yourself is a weird one.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's good advice.
But Rich, shall we roll?
I have been waiting 7 days, Cameron, to hear you say those sweet, sweet words.
7 days. 7 days. All right. I'm ready. Here we go.
And you're rolling for the theme this week, right? I'm rolling for the scenario.
I am rolling. I'm scrolling up to see what I'm rolling, and I am rolling for the themes. Here we go.
Okay. And... Okay, all right.
Ooh. I like my theme.
I know.
I like my theme.
I like my
I
scenario.
rolled a 14. Okay.
Okay.
We are going to be stuck in a rainforest. Cue the rain music.
Okay, stuck in a rainforest, and we are gaining intel.
Oh, this is good.
Yep.
This is good.
Snake. Snake.
Come on, do it now. Kill me.
Dude, this is gonna be good. Oh my goodness.
Okay. First and foremost, let's try to find a game that we could. I'd say D&D would probably be a good one to go roll with in this case, right?
I think so.
Who's got the ringer on? Is that me? Uh-oh. Sorry about that.
Oh,
Didn't
no
mean to
worries.
have my ringer on.
But I mean, D&D is what we know best. I've played a little bit of Pathfinder, a little bit of Starfinder. I think those systems will work too. But I think whether you are, the Rebel Alliance sneaking up to an Imperial base, or whether you are, level 5 adventurers trying to track down the Tesseract fossils, I think this is the theme that plays well to any game.
It really does. It really does. I love the mention of Star Wars and the Ewoks and getting down to the planet to disable the actual thing. Now, this actually reminds. If we're talking about Star Wars, it's sort of like Rogue One in the matter of gaining intel and shipping out all the information about the Death Star and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That was more along the lines, with the exception it was an island planet. But who's really wondering about all
Yeah,
that?
that's semantics.
So we've got our party here. We're stuck in a rainforest. How did we get there?
How or why?
Why are we there?
Ooh.
So, okay, that's a good question actually. So, are we thinking maybe is this a war maybe that's happening around in the world of D&D? Are we sneaking up to a compound to actually gather intel on a major crime lord or something like that?
Well, I could see this going a few ways, because when I think Rainforest, my initial first thought was to Metal Gear Solid games, to Alien versus Predator. This idea of these macho war dudes storming through and crawling through the mud. And even
let's go get ourselves some machetes.
Yeah.
Start chopping down trees indiscriminately.
But I think when it comes to gaining intel and you think of spying and espionage, something else that could be done, I'm not saying that's what we have to do, but you could be trying to track down a more rare creature. You could be trying to do more of a Monster Hunter type scenario where...
Yeah, I actually like that.
Yeah, because this is something that I've always liked, is in D&D, I feel like there's a lot of really fun lower challenge rating monsters that won't just one hit your players, but there's also a lot of moments where to be level 3 characters taking on something that should kill you, but knowing that you've done the legwork to be able to do it is super satisfying.
Yeah. You know what? Again, it's gathering intel is just one portion of the thing that the players are going to be doing. I really love the Monster Hunter idea. I really do. I think that would be a really fun way to sort of introduce. Again, it reminds me of episode 1 in the sense of like search the school, go get the phylacteries. Now it's like find out see the tracks, see where it sleeps at night, see where its eggs are, or what is it weak to, all those kind of things. It can really play into the characters that invested heavily in sort of the knowledge trees when it comes to the bestiaries and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that would be a lot of fun. So what do you think? What do we want to do here? Do we want to go gather intel on a monster? Do we want to go gather intel in terms of maybe we're trying to go fight in a war and we're trying to figure out where the enemies are encamped in?
I'm kind of leaning towards doing a monster personally.
Yeah, we haven't done them. We haven't done one like that. Really.
Yeah, we haven't done like
a
solo...
big hulking monster, right? Like we're just searching it out, and then we would sprinkle in encounters with smaller level types of things that could help the players, gain experience and all that kind of stuff too, right? That's what you would do.
Yep.
Okay.
So I like this idea. So we are hunting a monster in a rainforest. Hunting monster.
And right now, as the rain drips all around us, we're gathering intel. We're trying to figure this out.
I like this.
So, who sends them on this mission? Is this a mission? Is this a tyrannical type of being that needs to be taken out, that only awakens every once in a while, savagely messes up a town, and then goes back into its rainforest? Or is this more of a glory type of mission where you're trying to just go gather yourself a trophy?
Well, okay, so as we spitball ideas back and forth, let me actually talk about something I want to do. Oh, no, I can't talk about something I want to do with my next session. Well, they already know at this point. So here's the thing. Here's what I'm thinking about doing for one of my next sessions.
Okay.
So in the world, Orcus, who in the Dungeons and Dragons lore is the demon lord of undeath, has been released onto the world. So undeath is just spreading all over the place. At one point, the players are going to be tasked to go and to kill a purple worm, which is just a huge mammoth.
Yeah, it's giant.
Exactly.
It's massive.
It literally eats the world. I mean, it doesn't eat it for breakfast and then just like spit it out and everyone's dead, but it's always there and it's a big bad problem. However,
it's massive. It's like it's large enough to where players could stand atop it easily,
or fit snugly inside of it in its belly.
Because he's a hungry one.
He's a hungry boy. But here's the thing: rather than task them to go and to kill this purple worm, they are being tasked to go and to redirect the purple worm or to relocate the purple worm. Because what's been happening is the undeath has been spreading, and a purple worm is bad, but a purple undead worm is even worse. So it's kind of like a different way of looking at hey, don't go and necessarily kill this thing, but go and find a way of keeping something else from killing it. So that being said, who is being sent to go or why are they being sent to go? Is someone paying them? I think, like you were saying, being contracted to go and kill something is always something really easy to understand for parties that are a little bit more plot deficient, and they always seem to be on their phones or talking about Overwatch. That's a really easy thing for them to understand. I think being sent in like a competition type thing, very Monster Hunter-esque maybe, where there's multiple people out there hunting at once.
Well, what if we did this? What if we incorporated your idea of going to divert the monster, right? But not so much diverting it, more so as stopping its blight. I like the idea of like the monster having a blight upon it to where it actually is affecting the world around it, and it's slowly crumbling the rainforest, and it's slowly starting to spread. Yeah. And it's the pure source of that. And so the players need to, in a lot of ways, almost be humanitarians, or they're fighting on two fronts. They're fighting environment, and then they're also fighting this beast that has this type of affliction. And maybe it's even a beast that didn't have it in the first place, but has somehow been afflicted by something that they don't know about yet. And it could be a great lead-in point to, a big bad or a bad guy that's been, sort of messing with the wild.
Yep.
And like a mage or a wizard or something that's, or I don't know, what's the bad version of a wizard? A warlock? No, that's not.
No,
is it a warlock?
I mean, yeah, I think so.
I thought that was just like a class in D&D.
I mean, I think it is, but
with all due respect to all the warlocks out there.
Yeah, sorry if we offended you.
Yeah.
If we assumed
I'm going to say bad guy warlock. Yeah.
Did you
chaotic,
assume my alignment?
Did you just assume my alignment? Okay, so what do you think about that? Where it's like sort of eradicating this blight that this giant monster has. It's spreading. You're almost mercy killing this monster in a way.
Yeah. Or at least like you could put them in the scenario where so I'm thinking back to Mass Effect 1 to the Rachni base.
Oh,
where
yeah.
When you first show up, it's like, man, this stuff is bad news. These
bad news.
Yeah, these bugs are everywhere. They killed everybody. And then you get to that moment at the end where you're like, oh, they were killing everybody because of this reason. We can't spoil Mass Effect 1. I would hope that they've played it by now, but if someone's in the middle of their play and then they listen to our episode and then get to that episode, or that part of the game, I'm sorry.
They're gonna have
I'm sorry.
They're gonna have a bone to pick with us.
Yep.
But yes, I know what you mean. Is that bug when it was controlled by he who cannot be named?
Yes. Yep.
And so then you had that moment of, do I kill this bug and rid this infestation, or do I give them the opportunity to live and sort of cleanse themselves of this problem that they've got?
Exactly.
I like that idea of that. Maybe there's a player on your inside of your party that has this sort of innate feeling to help the animal. You could show some types of what would it be when you're trying to show you're showing the monster in almost a vulnerable state.
Yep.
So that it makes someone feel a little bit of sympathy for it.
Yep. Well, that's gonna be great for druids, like, and people playing these class types that are very like druids and rangers, even some clerics. That'll give you the moment to see that thing in its weakened state.
Okay.
And to make that call. I like that idea.
Okay. Okay. What about this? I'm a big fan of changing the biomes.
Okay.
For my players. We talked about this last week actually with the train ride and sort of witnessing the different things. Mm-hmm. For this, the biome would definitely be a tropical setting. Mm-hmm. Bunch of green, bunch of water, a bunch of sandy beaches. But then as you work your way up, it's very treacherous and hilly. So world building wise, how are we going to sort of like create this? Is it a cluster of islands that have started to become excuse my mic, I just knocked the heck out of it.
Oh, that's okay.
Is it a cluster of islands that they've noticed, the researchers have noticed that this blight has started to spread on each one? Or could this become like a multiple tiered thing where they go gather the intel for these monsters and they start to gather more and more intel and they start realizing that this is sort of the same thing happening time and time again? Could that be... So that would give them the ability to sort of jump from island to island and island, gives you a finite amount of islands to work with, and then you could have the reason why it's all happening at the end?
I do like that idea, especially because it implies a lot of movement, and I think for a gaining intel type session, there needs to be movement. It's like in any good mystery show you watch or detective book you read, or every movie you see that has that type of element. They're constantly moving all over the place. Now that can be hard to do in a tabletop game, because I feel like that's one of those things where there are some players who are going to be like, I know what to do next, and other players who are like, we found this thing, so do we win now? Or
yeah, it's definitely a tough thing. I'm all about that, because it's tough, man, because you're sort of leading the witness, but at the same time you're like, please just get this just get this so that we can move on because I have some cool stuff for you.
Dude.
And they're just like, I found a bone.
Dude.
Championship, right?
Dude. Okay.
What? Did you find a monster?
I was looking through the player's handbook, and this monster came up, and then I was like, no, that's too cliche. We can't do that one. And then I came back to it after we started talking about this island idea, because, like, I was thinking to myself, if they're tracking down this monster and they're going island to island, this thing has to be able to move. Because for me, if you, like, uncover one layer, kind of half fight this monster, and then it runs away, that's a really easy way for your players to be like, we have to follow that thing, even though we can't right now.
Right.
We have to figure out where it went. I bring before the Council of Dungeon Masters listening to this episode the idea of a green dragon.
We haven't done a dragon, and we do podcasts about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
We have to do that. It's like we've been doing this podcast for 30 years.
Yes, and so green dragons themselves, they are known to live, obviously, in like a forested type area. They do their lair effects. So when they kind of roost in an area for a long period of time, it changes the environment. And some of the changes are there are roots and vines that erupt in a 20-foot radius on a point of the ground that the dragon can see, so it can control the plants. Just tangled brush and thorns spring into existence all over the place. A huge fog kind of blows in, and all those things to me sound like a rainforest.
Yep, it definitely plays into it. Here, I have an idea as well.
Yes.
This breaks the rules. By the way, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I break the rules all the time of Dungeons and Dragons
because I'm all about no rules.
I don't play by no rules. You know what I do? I play by the rule of fun. I like to have a lot of fun with this. And to me, what if we did this blight or this sort of this infection that this dragon has? This starts as a young green dragon. And as it moves from island to island, this blight has this unusual effect on it that helps it grow faster and faster and faster and faster. And it keeps on moving away from the players, and and each time the players see it, it becomes bigger. And so it provides the players sort of a motivation to have to take it out sooner rather than later. Is that a bad idea?
Can I propose a counter argument?
Yes.
What if it is having the inverse effect on said dragon? So what if
it becomes small?
It becomes younger. So for dragons, dragons are at this weird middle area in Dungeons and Dragons. They're not gods, but they are also crazy powerful. I mean, you look at Bahamut and you look at Timiat, and these creatures are referred to as gods, but they themselves are dragons.
Got it.
A dragon lives to do two things: to get older, so it can get bigger. It can get more powerful. A dragon is, you hear people say, well, if a crocodile lives long enough, those things would be as big as dinosaurs. That is a dragon. Like, they just grow indefinitely.
Yeah, do people say that all the time to you or something?
Maybe it's an Ohio thing, because we have a lot of crocodiles in Ohio. We talk about it all the time, just like I did that accent.
I was like grocery shopping the other day, and someone was like, yeah, man, I'm really happy you bought all this provolone cheese. By the way, you let these crocodiles out here get big enough, boy, I tell you what. They're gonna eat your puppy dogs.
But here's the reason why I say
so what's the benefit of giving it the inverse? Why is that a good thing?
Because when it first shows up, it is like an oh crap moment of like, this dragon's bad news. So they do originally get tasked to gain intel. Do not engage with this enemy, like, type stuff. Like,
you're done.
Yeah. Like,
and reality, as the DM, we can make him powerful enough to where it could one hit if necessary, or at least put him into a death saving state.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
But here's where the inverse effect of it losing age could be interesting as well. That means at some point, whether it's this dragon came here looking for a cure, or whether I don't know exactly. Maybe it knew this was a safe place for it to go. as you're continually encountering this dragon and it's getting younger and younger, it's also going to maybe be getting more and more desperate and lead to that scenario where are you, the city guard or whatever contracted you to kill this dragon, but maybe now you see that it's pleading and saying, like, can you help me cure this wound? Can you help me, whatever this thing is that's affecting me? Like,
yeah, no, I'm right there with you now. I'm all on board on that.
And the dragon's going to be able to say, like, I was once, decades upon decades of years old, one of the strongest dragons around, and then, oh my gosh, then you have...
and if you're a DM that does voices, change your voice.
Yep.
Start with the booming voice,
well, and
then slowly start. Hey, I'm a cute little dragon. My name's Spyro.
Oh my gosh! But think about this too. So, green dragons are they take pride not in possession of. Okay, so red dragons and blue dragons, they love their hoard. They love amassing wealth, and green dragons do too. But green dragons love amassing followers and minions and pawns. They love knowing that the kingdom next door, like, is making payments to them, and, like, that king has enough of this dragon's agents around it that, like, if he doesn't do what the dragon wants, then he's out of the picture. So you have this green dragon who has lost all of this influence. I'm gonna just say it and not get to the end of it because I'm just excited about it now. So then, later on, you now have, maybe at the end of the session, if they don't kill this green dragon, they have this young green dragon whose rival has now stolen all of his stuff, all of his possessions, and this green dragon is saying, like, if you work for me, like, when all of this is said and done, I'll give you, like, whatever, like, anything you could want.
And this even lends itself, as I'm reading right now about the green dragon, it says here, they are innately and instinctively deceptive. They lie as easily as people speak, and they are good at it.
Yep.
So you could take this in so many different directions. So definitely 100% our monster is the green dragon.
Yep.
In terms of world building, we have islands, tropical types of islands that are rainforests. The main mission scenario starts with the gathering of intel on this massive behemoth of a dragon.
Yeah. Why did it show up?
And then we start. Right. So, that's and the I guess the beginning portion of our skeleton is, why did it show up? We are starting to see an infection that's happening to our islands, and we're seeing it spread relatively rapidly. We need to do something about that.
Yeah.
And so this is that diversion thing, the diversion of the purple worm, as you said earlier, moving it from island to island. So what about the end? What's the end game? I know that you just mentioned that, but what are we talking here? Are we talking about the red dragon or a rival dragon? Does this dragon does he break the mold? Or
are you saying, is he a good dragon or a good?
Yeah, is he a good dragon? Is he did you say greenish?
Goodish, but greenish.
Oh, goodish, greenish dragon. Got it. He's like, I'm a light shade of green.
Does he sit on a log at some point and pull out a banjo and start, just singing, "It's not easy being green"?
That's pretty much. Hey guys, welcome to Filling in the Gaps. That was our story. Hope you liked our episode.
Hope you liked it. What is the end goal, or what is the end of the story? Yeah,
I like the idea of, although he is deceptive, right? And you can even point this out to players. And if you don't have, like, a player that knows what a green dragon is and what they are, you could tell your players what they are, in a lot of ways, through maybe a guard or something like that. But in this case, this dragon is sort of trying to break that mold. They've always been a loner in a lot of ways. And as they've gathered this infection, maybe they gathered it from some warlock or something like that. They start to become your friend. They start to let's say, let's take it in the route that you in the end decide to spare the dragon's life and help the dragon.
Okay.
Because there's very likely there's a very likely chance that your player he's having his monologue like, guys, I need help. I'm like dying, and then just one of them's like, I chop his head off.
Like,
what do you
good.
think?
Let me help.
Like I
that
do a
along.
real good job out of it. I rolled 3d20, 20 natural 20s. So what do you think? Did I do it?
Yeah.
Let's say though that you have like a person on what did you say that I forget the name, a druid on the team.
Yeah.
And they say, we need to help him. We need to take care of him. That can lead us into so many different directions, and he can now be quest giver on the next quest, if you will.
Well, even too, like with green dragons, the way they are, like they are intelligent gatherers. If this is a adventuring party that's been around for a while, if they're level 5, level 6, level 7, if people know of them at this point, people whisper about them, then this green dragon probably has some agents who know about him too. So at that point, you could even offer, like, they're getting ready to, give that final blow. And it's like, I know who killed your mom, or I know something about the big bad that you're facing. Don't kill me. Like, I can help you. Like, we don't have to always be friends, but right in this moment, like, let's make an agreement. Let's make an arrangement.
Right. I got you. I think that's what that's still, so we've given ourselves 2 outs, right? We have obviously the ability to make the dragons become sympathetic, which doesn't take us away from the ability for him to deceive them, but it still, it still has that option right there. And then we have the ability for our players to hear his last request of sorts, and maybe even the ability to talk himself out of that situation, and then they can just straight up kill a dragon.
Yep.
Go collect the gold,
or going with
what they must.
Going with the intel gathering thing too, we could go back to whoever hired them. So maybe they got hired by, some local dragon hunters kind of showed up to the area following this dragon, and they conscripted you guys to help them gain intel. So another thing could be you either kill it and turn the hide in, or you try to figure out some way of trapping it and like bringing it in for a live bounty, which could be crazy to try to actually do. So the scenarios at the end could open up in a lot of different ways, whether it's this quest line ends here, we kill dragon for higher temporary gain, or hey, let's let this thing live. It could be an interesting idea.
Okay, but at the end we don't have to define that end. We just need to give those roads. We need to pave those roads.
Exactly.
In other words.
Yep.
Okay. And now, what about climactic events? What kind of climactic events could happen for this kind of guy right here?
I think, so as he's getting younger, a cool scene that I see is you are tracking these footprints like along a river or something like that, whether you are in a boat or whether you are just, tracking them down. He stopped at the top of this like mountainous area near this river to get a drink of water. You're tracking his footprints. And then as you get to the edge of the waterfall, thinking like maybe it like flew away and you're trying to spot him, like he knows you're tracking him, and now he just like flies up and it's like right in your face, and you're like, oh shoot, that's a big green dragon that's really angry and going to kill us. So it's that moment of like intel gathering turns into like running, and you have people like jumping off the waterfall because it's there, and then they're trying to like escape and make stealth checks in the surrounding tree line. It might not be a session where there's a map and like a tactical like I move 5 squares. It might be more of a how do you hide. But that could be fun.
Yeah, that I actually think that's the great first act climax. Is you go and you're searching for this guy, and then all of a sudden you think, because you're probably not used to searching for dragons. You're not trying to gather. You're not understanding of what all it takes to gather intel on them. And these aren't dumb creatures by any stretch of the imagination. And then all of a sudden, he's hiding behind a small bush.
Yeah, like
no,
where did he come from?
He flies from behind the waterfall where there lie a cave, and flies through the water, and flies over the top of everyone's head, and then starts to make his turn towards everyone, as you see his nostrils like flare up with flame, and smoke and things like that. And then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, that could be a lot. Or he could entrap the players and slowly talk to him, you know?
Like, why have you been following me?
Yeah.
Dude.
That could be a really cool way to introduce him like that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so for that, what if... So we talked about this dragon maybe coming here for a cure for some reason. What if the dragon... What if there's, like, out in the woods, there's, like, the civilized part of the island where, like, maybe there's traders that come back, like, come through. So there's, like, that civilized, quote-unquote, Western town. What if you go inland more and there's some more barbaric or some more, like, kind of tribal with shamans and mages, and this dragon knows about it, and he's trying to get the witch doctor there to make him some kind of potion that'll cure him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And maybe even like you're following, like, so you could either get trapped by those people because those people are sympathetic to the dragon, or it's another like clue you can follow. So it's like, wait, the dragon was here and he didn't just kill everybody. Well, why?
Right.
And dragons can assume a human form, so the dragon could even be there.
Wow, you blow my mind every single time I talk to you.
I try.
I don't
Thanks,
know if
Faye.
I deserve you, because I'm sitting here going,
We're gonna...
dragons have scales and wings, and you're like, yeah, they can wear blue jean shorts, and sometimes in the middle of August they enjoy a nice jaunt on the beach.
They prefer regular cut. Yeah.
Yeah, every person listening understands who the more senior of the two of us is when it comes to D&D. No, I'm just here to look good. Don't I look beautiful behind this microphone? Mm-hmm. Of course I do. Listen to that chocolate voice. So, what about this? You know what? Actually, I'm sticking with that. I'm sticking with what you just said right there. Either they have been gathering intel on this dragon, and I was thinking the fly through the waterfall looks really cool, but I love a slow walking dragon in front of a group of people who are trapped that can't move.
Ooh, yep.
And turning and like putting his nose and right in their face, and bring an NPC guide and just barbecue him.
Oh,
just straight up barbecue him. Can green dragons blow fire? Am I wrong about this?
I believe they blow in D&D. They blow acid. I think. Let me double check.
Well, that's even
poison.
Worse.
They breathe poison.
That's terrible. I was about to say a bad word, but
but so what if we combine the two ideas though? So what if, from a distance they see this green dragon fly out of a waterfall and they're like, oh shoot, there's a cave behind there. It takes them a day to get there. At this point, they should be asking, can we risk going in this cave where this dragon's been hiding to look around? And then if they do, that's when this dragon comes back and is now like, oh, and with poison gas too, like you could have it blow poison gas through the tunnels. And now there's this whole like essentially a breathing underwater scenario where they have only so much time until they suffocate in these like tunnels, and they're trying to figure out like, how do I keep from like, how do I find enough air to be able to breathe before suffocating?
Right.
And the dragon at that point just is like, peace, see you guys. Like I've done my job. I've done my thing. I breathed the poison. Like you guys can't survive that.
Yeah. He's controlling the situation. By the way, I like how I said he could breathe fire earlier because I'm such a noob. Like somebody was sitting there listening earlier and going, "Oh God,
these scrubs, they don't even know."
Who is this guy? Okay, so we get to the midpoint, right? And maybe this is the transition from island to island, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a cool part because when we can introduce some sea battles as if when they're on a boat or something like that. Maybe introduce some sirens would be fun. Ooh, sirens are definitely fun. That'd be pretty cool to do on the way out there. See, I know some things. Mm-hmm. I know the screaming women.
Yep.
They just come out of the water and scream at you till you're dead.
Till you're dead.
We could have some, pterodactyl-sized pigeons flying above the boat.
Dude, that would be awesome.
Exactly. I know things. I'm good at this kind of stuff. So as we move in from Climax Act 1, right, this is like the frightening moment for the players. It's the moment where the players are going, oh my God, what have we gotten ourselves into?
Mm-hmm.
Climax Act 2 is the reveal of the dragon, but in a much, much more, I guess, manageable shape for the players themselves. Would that be the Climax Act 2?
Yeah.
As it stands in the shadows, it's consistently trying to trick the players into thinking that he's still the dragon that he once was.
Ooh.
And then finally, once the players reveal the dragon, they realize, like, wait a second, you're nothing.
Yeah, where's the big guy?
Where's the big guy?
Yeah. Oh, I like that a lot.
And then the dragon can go, he's in the cave. Let me go get him real quick. And then he just starts to sprint away.
I'll be right back. You stay here.
Give me 5 minutes.
No, I like this idea a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not a climactic moment of like combat or craziness. It's more of like a climactic like what?
Yeah. Because I think people do a bad job when it comes to climaxes and in the sense of the term that it's like you have to do something extravagant.
Yes. Yep.
Sometimes revelation is like revelation.
Yeah.
Revealing something is
oh my gosh. Sometimes revelation is like revelation. I'm writing that on my wall. That's so good.
Do it in like the cursive, that they do, where you like walk into a person's house and they've got like, hope is the only thing worth living for, or something like that written on their wall, and you're like, why did you do that? Revealing, it can be just as impactful to players as anything else.
Yeah.
Guy getting his head chopped off is all fine and well, but I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes you want to shift how you're telling your story. It can't be go to this place, big fight, transfer over to the next place, big fight, win big fight, go collect gold. Some people love that, but how many times can you tell that story before your players start to become disenfranchised from what you're trying to accomplish?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Well, think about how many video games you play where you get tired of that. Like, everyone hates Preston Garvey from Fallout 4. Why? Because he offers you the same quests over and over and over again. And you're like, Preston, I'm tired of it. Leave me alone.
Preston, have you been following me? Because I'm literally on the other side of Boston right now, and there's something going on at the settlement. I'm good, man. You're good.
Yeah.
Literally, I set up auto turrets. Okay? You're fine, man. You're fine.
But no,
but the settlement.
But the settlement needs your help. No, but I like that idea of what you're saying, too, with the reveal. Because especially, it's not just a reveal. It's this green dragon is a lot smaller, and that's the moment, too, where maybe the climactic part that makes your players lean in or like look at each other and say, like, what are we going to do, is that choice of, are we going to kill this thing or not? And that's where it's almost like a climax with a fork in the road, because it's either it could be for some people climax actual battle, dragon's like, hey, don't kill me, and they're like, nah. Or it could be climax like the dragon's a lot smaller, do we help him, do we try to capture him?
Right. So then you can lay those seeds. We always talk about planting seeds. The game warden at the sort of civilized town provides the option to say, we can take this dragon back in if you can capture him at said price. Now I know that might be a heck of a thing to do, right? But the warden sets the price at X amount, right? 10,000 gold pieces.
Warden doesn't know the dragon's getting smaller.
Exactly.
So the warden's like, well, yeah, I guess if you could bring it in alive, I could pay you this much, but no one's ever brought a dragon in alive. And the players are like, loophole.
Exactly. And so now your players feel smart, right? Your players are like, well, you did say bring it in alive, so here you go. You could have a little gecko on your hand by that point.
Yep. Well, and even too, I'm sorry, we're just getting all over the part. I just love, this is the stuff I love. So you turn it into the game warden, and this dragon's like, you're making a big mistake. And then you still even have this moment where maybe the game warden does give them a bounty or give them more, but not near enough. And then the dragon still has that moment of like sending an agent to them to be like, my master wants to let you know that if you want the rest of the money that's due you, if you help him to escape, he'll gladly pay in full, or something like that. So it's still like that moment of like, like, oh, the warden kind of gypped us. Like,
yeah. And at the same time, then deception becomes even more prevalent in the dragon's mind. It's
exactly.
like, well, yeah, now I'm definitely going to deceive these guys that turn me in like I was a piece of meat.
Yep.
You know, there's so many different directions. A dragon is a really, really cool thing. I know that this story has become less about gathering intel in the rainforest and more about the interaction with this dragon. But this green dragon is such a good idea to us.
I know. I like this character.
Yeah. He's like Tom Hanks in Big.
He's just like that. He's just
it's
the exact
pretty
same
much
thing.
the exact same story. I think minus like a game warden. This is the same. I've seen this movie. You know what? I feel like this is copyright infringement, to be quite honest.
Probably is. Quick, turn the mics off. But let's. Okay, so we haven't done this yet because you're right. We've been talking a lot about this dragon. Do you want to talk just interactions real quick?
Okay.
Things like we threw out a few ideas, but saying them once and for all right now. Here are things that could happen while you're gaining intel in the rainforest, or like things to look for. So let me ask you this: the whole sleuthing for footprints. How do you do that in a rainforest to make it fun, or what happens while you're sleuthing for footprints in your mind that makes it stand out? And makes it more than just a perception roll.
Okay. So your perception roll could lead to certain areas, right? Mm-hmm. You could sort of see a path of destruction that had been left behind by the monster or by the dragon. So depending on the perception roll, I would set aside a table that had, certain levels of success and then what those levels of success led to. If we failed our perception, if we failed, not miserably, but, let's say we critically fail all the way up to like a 5, then I would lead them into, they're reading the wrong tracks. They don't understand what they're following. And they might think that they're following this green dragon, but in reality, they're following this massive monster that's also on the island as well, and lead them into a combat encounter. If you went to 5 to 10 to maybe 15 in that little middle zone, now it becomes less about that's a tough one. I was trying to talk myself through that one. Mm-hmm. It's just difficult because it is truly, well, I mean, it's my mind led to combat encounters, with the exception that as the punishment of sorts for messing up on tracking.
What if something that sparked while you were talking for me is the idea of, once again, this is a creature going to multiple different islands and you're making perception checks. Maybe the perception checks, they all lead you to a correct area. Maybe just what the perception check is leads you in a different order, which isn't even something necessarily that the players might not realize they went in a custom order for their perception checks. Right. But it's just something that behind the screen, like, well, I know right now that the dragon's at the watering hole, but with your perception check, I'm going to send you guys, over here instead. Unless the players are actually like, no, we want to go to the watering hole because you've told them about it or something. Another thing that I really like that you said is the path of, this big path of destruction. I would say in a session like this where gaining intel is so important, going back to what we said earlier, in an intel gathering scenario session, movement needs to happen to keep it interesting. Don't have them make a perception check and then just give them all of the info about every single island. Have a perception check lead to a big trail of destruction and say well, you look through the trees and you can see that this trail of destruction, or you look out over the horizon and you see that path of destruction goes on for at least a half a day's hike. Are you going to go all the way there? That way to them it's not just oh yeah, we'll go pick up that intel and get a carton of eggs and some milk and be home in time for tavern songs. It's well, who knows what's going to happen while we're out there. Even have
was that their version of a PS4? Go home and play PS4. It was
probably.
Go home and just sing some tavern songs with their friends.
Yeah, exactly. It's I'm trying to think of a karaoke game, rock karaoke or karaoke band or something.
There it is.
But what
with
if
wands?
So that way there's this idea of if you're going out there to gain the intel, which is the thing that you want, there might be something else that happens, whether it's combat or whether it's, I mean, you're in a rainforest. I think you got to do combat.
Yeah.
But there's that session of like, we as a party have moved locations, so things have like happened. We're not just like standing in the town at a tavern.
Yeah.
Being omniscient.
I like the idea of also trapping my players in
Yes.
sort of things and letting tribes people
Yep.
do their worst.
Yep.
Sort of like the Ewok village. Take them, treat them as if they're, maybe try to treat one of the players as C-3PO in the scene, like a god.
So good. Yes.
You know what I mean? It's 100% plagiarism in terms of an idea, but it's a really fun thing to like
is.
give one of your players this like, I am omnipotent to these beings and you guys are nothing, like ha 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 ha.
Yep.
You're sitting of Urfa,
Yep.
I'll get you down here shortly, don't worry guys.
And that could tie in what we were saying about this witch doctor being contacted by the dragon to give a cure. And if one of your players is a dragonborn, that's even more perfect. Duh, they think that thing's a demigod.
Yeah, of course they would.
But okay, so let's
Of
talk
course
about this trapping scenario. What happens? What gets them trapped, or what's available at the town that they can do? This little tribes people captures them.
I think the trapping scenario is on a perception roll for some kind of track, in whatever that may be. And part of me is like a critical failure would do the trick there to get that to happen, right? Because we're not working off of a map, we're working off of sort of spatial, just how we're explaining the environment.
Yeah,
we're able to do kind of stuff like this. But it's such a cool little interaction that I don't feel like it should just be limited to a critical failure. It could be, if they were to go down this path and fight these monsters, and then if they were to run, or if they were to, if you want to introduce it, you could pretty much do it no matter what, right?
Ooh.
With the exception of, the only thing is that you never want to railroad your players, but
True.
Or you can railroad away if you want to. Some players know no different, but you don't want to give a player the feeling that they can't control their destiny.
Exactly.
So dexterity rules are going to come into place.
Yep.
Right there.
Can I say two things that you inspired me with?
Yes.
Okay. What if?
Yes, my son.
Thank you, Father. What if? So they kill a monster in the woods, and right after combat, you have phasing out of the trees, these people wearing masks and carrying spears, and then one of them, it's really tense. One of them pulls the mask back and speaks in broken common, and it's like, and compliments your players. Like, our bravest warriors couldn't have taken down this beast. Like, come to our village.
Ooh,
and let's eat it together. So there's a friendly way of like, here's the town. I like the idea.
You could do multiple. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once again, if they're following something deep into the woods too, have somebody warn them, like, people who go out there in those woods, sometimes they don't come back. But best be on your guard. And maybe they're camping out there.
I like how they sound southern.
Hey, that's you're from Texas. You gotta be able to acknowledge that
you better not go out there in them there yard. That man's yard, he got weeds so tall. I ain't ever seen his wife in 3 weeks.
Oh gosh, that's beautiful. But how exactly that accent guy explained to them, like, hey, if you're out there, like, be on your guard. And then if they sleep in the woods because they're far enough away that they either travel through the night and get ambushed by tribespeople or by an enemy, or if they sleep, have the people who are on watch have an opportunity to, like, maybe make a constitution saving throw against a poison dart that hits them that's trying to knock them out. So then there's like this rushed combat encounter, and then that could end positive too, with like, why are you trespassing? Oh, we didn't know. Or it could end with them, on sticks and hanging over a fireplace.
Or it could end with your entire party killing an entire group of tribespeople too.
Exactly. That's also an option. If that's the option, I think then the dragon's at that town talking to the witch doctor, and the dragon's like, I won't let you kill these people who might have the cure for this disease.
Correct.
It's like a web. Whichever string you go to, it leads you to where you want to go.
But you know what? Again, this feels like a successful episode because we have felt, to me, I'll speak for myself here, I would play. I want to play this mission. I want to play this.
Yes.
I want. This is something that I definitely want to try.
One of my first.
I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, one of my first sessions, I tried to do something like this with the Green Dragon, and I did not have near as much backbone as we just discussed. And I want to bring that. I haven't played with those players in a while. I kind of want to do a reunion tour and bring this Green Dragon back just for this.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun, man. I'm definitely going to run this game. I'm actually going to be going to my local game store for my first time to DM here in the near future, so I should be trying this one out.
Wait, are you really?
I think I'm going to try it, man. I have a lot of
awesome.
fear. I only have a lot of fear because I'm not doing it for friends. Mm-hmm. And so, guys out there, when you're doing this kind of stuff, you have to be fearless. At the same time, you can be nervous and scared and all that kind of stuff, but don't be afraid. Your players are going to read that on you. Just be confident in the work and the time that you've put into these stories, because you've done phenomenal work.
Yep.
You have. I don't care if people think you're a bad DM or if you're a good DM. The fact is, you've put a lot of time into it. Go out there and just tell your story, because people are going to eat it up, because they're going to bite into your passion.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, let's do a little synopsis real quick.
Okay.
Because we're running short on time here.
Oh.
We can't keep you people all night.
Oh.
We're not Joe Rogan, so we can't have like 18-hour podcast. Not yet, at least.
Not yet. But yeah, synopsis.
So go for it. You hit me with the synopsis.
Okay.
I want to hear what your thought is.
Your players, whether they have been on the tropical island or whether they are sent there by a benefactor, arrive and are quickly informed to the fact that a green dragon has made its roost, and not just any green dragon, but an adult green dragon that has a name, that has renown. And there are now, in this small island village, dragon hunters from all across the land waiting there, trying to make their claims. Some have already died and disappeared into the woods. You're contracted not to kill the dragon, but to gain intel. You are sent there to find out why the dragon's here, to find its weakness, and you and your party venture out into the woods. On the way there, you maybe tussle with some local tribespeople who may or may not have connections to this green dragon. Maybe you find and track the dragon to its lair behind a waterfall, or you have an encounter with it on the top of a mountain, and you have to jump into a standing pool of water, or you encounter something while you're in a boat. But however your party goes through and tracks the dragon down to its lair, when you finally found it, it has shrunk from its original size that you saw it at. It has a wound on its side that has some kind of never-ending poison leaking out of it, and maybe it starts by breathing poison at you and then ends the combat pleading. It can pay you. It can make your life much easier if you help it to end this curse affecting it. It might be even able to help you against the big bad you're currently facing. And you're put into a situation where you have to choose. Do I kill the dragon for my own personal renown? Do I help the dragon escape? Or do I have my own custom option where your players come up with something else? But that's what I think the synopsis is.
Yeah. You know what else I was thinking about just now? If the players decide to help the dragon sort of relieve itself of this affliction, the dragon continues to get smaller and smaller until it's like a pocket-sized dragon.
Oh my gosh.
And so he's like a little party member.
And then it's just with them.
Yes.
Oh, that would be so good. That's like the perfect idea for a familiar. I mean, just give it like stats of like a little pseudo dragon or whatever those things are called. It's not off the top of my head, but that'd be so fun.
Yeah, it's like Baby Groot, man.
Yeah,
it's like Baby Groot.
Yeah, it's not a fire breathing dragon, so it's a poison breathing dragon. So even with that, there's some like cool scenarios where you're like, what are we gonna do with this little poison breathing dragon that's following us around now?
Yeah, and then if they do heal him up, then he's felt completely vulnerable because he gets to the point where he could be just squished by a shoe.
Yep.
And now he's back to, growing and becoming the dragon that he once was.
Squished by a shoe, but with the knowledge and memories that I am decades old and have all of this.
I would love this idea of this little small dragon with this like grandiose idea of who he is. And just, do you know who I am? I am such and such. That's the dragon's name.
Such and such.
Yeah.
I think that's in Draconic, actually.
It is. That stands for Hulk Hogan. So
oh, gosh,
we're gonna tie it back
so
into
good.
WWE. There it is.
That's how we know the episode's over.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
all right, man. We'll lead us out.
Okay, well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Filling in the Gaps. Once again, we'll be here next week with another random theme and a random scenario. But here's what you guys can do. Please feel free to follow us on social media, listen back to our last episodes, and please, we love hearing from you guys. Let us know what a theme should be, what a scenario should be. We'll add it to our list of D20, and hopefully we'll be able to give you guys a shout out when we do your theme or we do your scenario. Also, on Reddit, Instagram, and Twitter, we'll be posting when we come up with encounters and maps for this session and post them over the following week. So make sure you guys are tuning in for that. And let us know, too, if there's anything else we've ever discussed that you'd like to see more of. On Reddit, somebody for our first episode had the idea of doing a book golem. So we are still in the works of making a book golem monster to release for them. We'll have it done by the time this episode's up. But if you guys have any ideas you'd like to see added to this session, well, help other people fill in the gaps. Let us know what that is, and when we create it, we'll put your name in the title. But that's all for this episode. Make sure you guys follow us on all the social medias, and we'll be there to help you guys at your next game night.